Welcome to Wait, It Gets Better, the improvisational storytelling podcast, where every week a few friends get together with their randomly designed story elements and combine them together into a story that you would feel proud of entering into the county fair. Blue ribbons for everybody. I'm, of course, Levi.
I'm Reed.
I'm Isaac.
And I'm Seth.
And we are here to tell you a story. What story element did you guys have? I had Wise Old Man.
I have something based on a book I'm reading.
Nice.
I had Ka-tet members.
Great.
And I had Pantheon.
So I think Seth should start then.
Okay. So the Pantheon, it's the collection of the gods that they've created this world and they've ran it for a long time. And in the course of things, they've kind of turned things over to kind of a different way to run things, I guess, to kind of sum it up. So it'd be like, imagine like the Greek gods and they're all up on Olympus and whatnot, right? And then the Olympic Games would have originated with, everybody coming and basically competing for the gods,
right?
On Mount Olympus every so often. And it was like all the big games. However, so you have the kind of the supreme gods of this world have all kind of gotten together and they're trying this new thing called democracy.
Right.
So every 4 years, like all the representatives of, the people of the earth have to come together and they actually have to elect which god sits at the top of the Pantheon and fills each different role. And they have to kind of then either through like feats of strength and these like Olympic games that instead of the people playing for the gods are actually playing kind of for the, the vote of the people.
Right.
And so each of them, much like the Greek Pantheon or the Norse Pantheon, everyone's, you got the trickster and you've got, the kind of the old, Odin or the Zeus character, all these different characters with all their different personalities. And so ever so often, according to the will of, the people that they've kind of vied, for their vote, gets to decide who sits at the top of the Pantheon.
Right.
And kind of reign supreme and be kind of the top dog.
Yeah, that's good. So obviously the story is taking place during one of these kind of campaigns to see who it's gonna be.
Who's gonna be the all father for the next 4 years.
Yeah. That's good. I like that. I'm thinking, so my wise old man is, this kind of fits in kind of well. My wise old man is, the like Ask Amy's you could do like in the newspaper, you'd like send in a question and someone named Amy would like write advice to you. Not like
just anyone named Amy or...
No, I don't know what it was, but basically you would send in your question to Ask Amy and then they would publish your question in the paper with the answer, like someone just kind of commenting on what you were saying. That's kind of the format that this takes. The wise old man, how he communicates with the hero. The hero buys the paper every day and reads it on his way to work or whatever. And it's been really kind of weird and strange because the advice written in the Ask Artie columns are like specifically about his life. Like he'll be sitting there and he'll like spill his drink on his lap and then he'll be like, and then a few minutes later he'll be reading through the paper and his eyes will go onto the Ask Artie part and it'll be like, oh man, that coffee sure does stink, doesn't it? This is how you get coffee out of your clothes. And it's weird. It's weird enough that he doesn't recognize it immediately, but it starts to be like really specific, like almost calling him out by name specific. And this obviously is a work of the gods. I was going to say that this was going to be something else, but with Seth's thing, it makes a lot more sense. Maybe he's like a prime judge or something, and this god is basically trying to communicate to him directly to try and figure out some way to like get his favor in some way. But yeah, that's how
bribing a judge, huh?
Yeah, that's how the wise old man kind of communicates with the hero, is just like in the Sunday paper, and it's never like hero, you have to do this or that, or this is how you win the whatever. It's just like he'll find out what it is that he's going to be facing that day because of what the paper says. It's like
it's like a super personalized horoscope.
Yeah, it's like, don't you hate it when it rains? I hate it when it rains. And he like looks up in the sky and he's like, there's not a drop in I better take an umbrella just in case. And then something crazy happens and a storm blows in and he's the only one with an umbrella. And so he kind of gets this hero dumb face because he's like always so prepared and knows what's around the next corner. But he like part of of that is, yes, okay, maybe, but also part of that is the fact that like someone's like telling him what to do, not what to do, but what's going to happen in a kind of a weird communication kind of way. Anyways, I think that maybe the guy who writes it is either him from the future or one of the gods trying to communicate with him in some way. That is the wise old man, though.
Like maybe an oracle or something for one of them.
Right.
That's getting
Right.
information. And so he's like, okay, I got to write this for, Steve over there. It's gonna, he needs to take his umbrella.
Right. Or it's him in the future kind of sending something back, some sort of, or maybe he goes to where the Artie's office is and it's literally just empty. And they always say, yeah, he just, we have, whenever we go to print the papers, the information is there. And it's just like the building is haunted and that it's just a thing that happens. It's not like there's not really an explanation for it, but it's like a wise old kindly man. And he's not trying to hurt the hero at all. He's trying to help him, but he's trying to help him in like a vague kind of don't get water on your shoes kind of way. So that's the wise old man.
I think that I've got something based on a book I'm reading, and I happen to be third time through. I'm on book 10 of the Wheel of Time series. And what I
Nice.
chose to take from that is the concept of tavern. And what that really means is the kind of the concept of the wheel of time is that the wheel weaves as the wheel wills, and the fabric of society is woven together, and everybody's got a part to play, and your place in the pattern is woven in, and you are oftentimes subject to what happens to you. I think I see one of the story elements today is Ka-tet. Isaac's got Ka-tet members.
Right.
From the the subject, the idea of Ka, the kind of the destiny or the way things are woven together would fit. And the Ka-tet members are those that destiny pulls together. Creation draws them into a collaboration of some sort, even as could be as colleagues and friends, or it could be even as adversaries. But it could be many different ways. But the idea of a tavern is one that the pattern weaves around a person. So if you're in the company of a tavern, you will kind of get sucked into their orbit in a way. They kind of
Right.
draw the movement of the weaving of the pattern around themselves, or it's woven literally around them and as a focal point for the way the wheel weaves. So that's really fitting so far with Wise Old Man and the Pantheon.
Yeah, that is really fitting so far. So is this is just, we just need to insert tavern into the story somehow?
Yeah, I'm figuring when we get the Ka-tet members, we're obviously Wise Old Man could be, or the hero that Artie is writing to could be, or
Right.
yeah.
Okay, Isaac, let's hear the Ka-tet members.
Oh God. Okay. So you ready?
Sure.
It's you three. It's Seth, Levi, and Reed are the Ka-tet members for the story.
Remember, Levi, once I told you were tavern?
Yeah, I don't believe you, but
It is true.
it's us.
At first, I thought it was going to be you were going to be in the story, but maybe you are. The journey or the goal that the Ka-tet is on is to not participate in a story, but write a story, maybe.
Okay.
I was thinking this is a good idea, and I had all these ideas for it, but then all these elements really didn't play very well with the Ka-tet members, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
That's why if you don't like it, you could just wait. It gets better.
Yeah.
So would you say that's like what would that be called? Like retconning us into being the authors of the story when we really basically are, as some kind of like even higher, like, I don't know, like, what would that be, where like we are the gods of the gods, not like, because in any story, the true god of whatever that story is would be the author, would it not be?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I guess technically, yes.
I don't know. I've always had an idea too, where it's like, or maybe it's already something someone's done, but where it's, I don't know. I'm not trying to be sacrilegious or like, I don't know, but
Let's hear
where
your
like the
sacrilegious
people
ideas.
in the story, literally are worshiping the author. Like they are, like it would be kind of like this narcissistic.
Seth,
narcissistic.
Seth,
What?
you need to read the Dark Tower series.
Okay.
Okay.
So you said I've got a
Yeah.
lot of reading to do.
Yeah.
So what's first, Dark Tower or Wheel of Time?
Dark Tower. Moving on from that very true and only answer you need. So
I did get the Dark Tower book. I do have it. It's but it's by C.S. Lewis.
okay, that's fine.
I don't know if that's the right Dark Tower, but
He wrote something. The Dark Tower takes place in the Dark Tower exists in C.S. Lewis's world, so that's fine. So Isaac, I'm gonna do my best to kind of do my best with what you've said here.
Okay, what do you think? What do you got?
What I think is that these gods, the gods that are vying for human participation in order to decide who gets to be in control, are not actually the ones who are in control. They're not actually the gods with a capital G, right?
Right.
They've taken this place. They've taken this position. They've taken this power. I mean, they live on a mountain, for Christ's sake.
Yeah.
Gods don't live on mountains. Gods live other places, other dimensions. The gods of the Greek gods weren't gods. They were incredibly gifted people. There, I said it. Zeus can strike me dead anytime he wants. Except he can't because he's just a human. Probably more like an angel. He's probably like an angel. Anyways, so they need one of the ways that they gain their power is gods have their power innately. A real god has their power innately. They don't rely on
An external force.
Where these gods are idols, basically. They've come into being because people wanted to worship something, right? People wanted to worship sex. And so like this goddess of fertility was created to promote this worship. People wanted to worship power, war, whatever. So these things came into being. And at first these things were just basically servants to kind of help promote this idea, but somewhere along the line they got tripped up. They got pulled aside. They got turned aside. Not pulled aside, but they turned themselves aside. And now what they need is they need more people because people worshiping them and believing in them is like a drug, and that's what they need. And so people started to forget about them because people started to create science and sort of innovate a way, but they somehow manipulated the situation so that technology and science and knowledge would kind of diminish, and now they're back to kind of in the main view. So people have these machines, they have a giant printing press, but it just works and no one knows how to fix it, there's like huge factories just laying dormant because no one knows how to do them, but everyone worships the gods because, the gods are back. And now something has come, a tavern, I always pronounced it taviran,
taviran.
But tavern is fine as well. But a taviran has come now to set it right? To put it back into motion, to put the world spinning as it should, and that is the hero, and he is being guided or being helped along anyways by something, maybe, okay, here's the thing. Maybe
he's being helped along by the Ka-tet members.
Yeah, we could be there.
So
no, wait, just a second. I'm almost done, Seth, and then I'll let you say something. I think what he's being helped along with is by the people who make the newspaper rely on the printing press, and the printing press in and of itself, Reed, correct me if I'm wrong, represents the freedom of knowledge. Like once the printing press was created and books could be created and distributed, it was crazy. Like it wasn't that like what started the Renaissance? Like
and different facets of it. For example, Martin Luther took his 95 Theses and nailed it on the door of Wittenberg Chapel.
Right.
Well, the thing of it is that, the way the church has always handled upstart notions like that is they could just come and tear it down. The problem is that by Luther's time, there was a printing press, and they were cranking out copies of this and sending them all over Germany.
Exactly. And
I think he originally wrote it all in Latin, though, because he originally just wanted it to be on a scholarly level to those people, and they took it, translated it, and put it out in a common tongue.
Yeah. And so the thing that is helping our Taviran along is the one rejected servant that didn't take its place as a god because it valued knowledge and information over attention, right? So it's kind of like the scholarly one, the one that wants people to be educated, and the one that works and helps towards people having knowledge and information, right? The one who maintains the printing press, and he is now using his influence and sending that out to push and to continue to push along the hero to kind of make his way through being a hero, so whatever that is, whether that's he needs to be like a journalist, the hero's like a journalist, or if he's some sort of fighter, I'm trying to.
I'd want to say that he's some kind of journal, because if it's some kind of like election thing, my mind was going to like some kind of like big story where it's like uncovering the corruption that these other people aren't who they say they are, and they're involved in, like a otherworldly pact to basically gain control via worship when they've stepped out of their place. I don't know, like some kind of scandal. So I think if he's with the idea that it's like this whole, like they're electing these certain gods, something has to come up, or he has to expose something that, these are a bunch of frauds.
Right.
Not that they aren't God's little g, but they only truly have as much power as they're being given.
Right.
And little signs saying "Vote Pedro" are showing up everywhere. Or "Vote Artie," like let's throw the bums out and let's clean house. And here they were, the gods were thinking that this was this fun little popularity contest, and but it was all, their intention was for really to manipulate it and everything. But then these pesky humans got the idea that they could actually do it themselves.
Or maybe the humans were the ones who were supposed to be the stewards. They were the ones who were supposed to be the ones in control, and these spirits or gods or whatever forces of nature, as I view them kind of in their primal level, like that is why as soon as they were the ones who were put into control, soon as people started to worship them instead of like, soon as people started to like worship whether or not the sun would come up or down, or sacrifice things to the force of nature, that's when things started to get askew. And now all the gods are centered in one place, and the world is essentially dying because these quote unquote gods aren't being the stewards that they need to be, and the position of being steward of the world, of kind of being the not the mastermind, but being the one who's in charge, has been taken out of the more capable hands of humans and put into what looks like the more capable hands of the gods, little g. You know what I mean? Like, and so his whole story is this kind of like reversal of what is, where are you putting your priorities? How are you focusing your, what you want or what's good or what's bad? Like, what are you using to guide this by? Are you using whether the sun comes up or down, or whether it rains or not, to say whether or not, someone is good or bad? I don't know. He needs to ask these questions, because you can't use violence to overthrow these things. They're forces of nature,
Maybe so if he's like a journalist, so maybe he kind of awakens people to not, like, when they're hungry, when they don't have food, not to go and throw their last couple scraps in the fire and burn it to the god of food, but to, like, he inspires people and wakes them up to not spend money on a new rug, but to buy food instead, because that's how their mind was that they were going to be provided for, and they had to, they had to serve these gods to get what they needed. But he kind of like, he inspires them. So it ends up like robbing that power from the quote unquote gods and giving it then back to the people.
Right. Because basically what they learn is that you don't need to sit at the agriculture's god's temple and pray every single day that somehow the garden that you didn't plant will grow up. What you need to do is you need to take dominion and call the power of that quote unquote god, which is literally just nature, into their place and make your garden. And in doing so, you will harness that power of that quote unquote god, and actually it will actually fulfill its true nature in this place. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
That's kind of what he teaches people, is that you need to, and that's why at the end, the he doesn't, like, the wise old man doesn't go off into the sunset. He like disappears as more and more people take hold of the passion for information. His power is dispersed amongst the people. It's like if you don't praise me, then the rocks will cry out. That's basically what happened in this place. Enough people weren't seeking after information, and so the concentration of the desire for information built up into an actual personification. And that's what happened to other places, except there it was negative. And here it was wrapped around this Taviran for good, essentially motivating people to take responsibility for their life. And like, you want X, Y, or Z, like, here's steps to actually acquire what you want instead of just hoping or praying at the altar of hopes or prayers. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You don't, no longer do you lean on your shovel and pray for a hole.
Right. Because you capture or like, no longer do you lean on your shovel and pray to the god of hard work.
Yeah.
It's like, don't pray to the god of hard work. Just channel the god of hard work inside of yourself. It's not a god. It's just the idea of change and motivation.
And I think the hero, whatever, the journalist guy, should be an atheist. And he's Taviran, and so he's like pushed along this path,
right?
That he doesn't believe in these gods, so he's writing about this, awakening everyone. So I don't mean an atheist per se, but maybe his mindset is like that.
I think of Ayn Rand or something.
Right,
rugged
right,
individualist.
Where he's like he has his goal, but when he writes, he thinks, we're gonna rise up against them and we're gonna take them down. And this is what it kind of turns into, is something different, and it just keeps being taken and used
right
for a different direction than he was even going. And then he starts slipping into that direction, because there's obviously something beyond these forces of nature that did create and did set things
right
in order.
So I just had this funny idea. I actually had it a little bit ago, kind of on the onset of making the Pantheon too. And if they were all being basically like, these gods have to, like, go and vie for people's votes. So I was just like, in my mind, thinking that there's, it's election season. So, the rain god is, swooping into, the quote unquote flyover areas. And like some journalists asking, like, the god of rain, it's like, why do you only bring rain to, the flyover farm area, when it's, election season is up, and say, no comment, and, I don't know, like all kinds of different stuff like that. So like, the god of, harvest comes in, and all of a sudden everything's ready to harvest, and see, look what I can bring for you. So it's like, oh, yay. But then how's come you're only campaigning in like the places with a lot of votes? Well, how's come only, the heavily populated areas that have a lot of votes seem to be getting your attention?
Yeah.
And instead of just being, let's say, a direct like politician, that's like, whatever, they just pop in and they give a speech, whatever, they're a politician. This is actually like literally the rain god, or the god of harvest, that's like only blessing certain parts that are going to give them votes. Or
right. I like it. It paints kind of a comical picture that at first would be kind of really serious and interesting, but would turn more comical as you realize that these were like, they aren't like fully formed, not humans, but they weren't like fully formed egos, these are
just like raw desire and raw force. Like tornado is just a raw force. It has no hate or has nothing swaying it. It just exists.
And they only
it's
rose
deadly
up.
And powerful.
Yeah, and they only rose up because they were focused on. Like they aren't necessarily evil all by themselves. They like rose up because they were focused on, and because the reality of life was forgotten and the fantasy of life was emphasized. Anyways, I like this story. I think it's good. I think it would win first place at the county fair. Big blue ribbon.
Ooh, wow, look at it now. Waititgetsbetter's famous story, pig.
Yeah. It's some story.
Golly.
It's some story. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Lads and chaps. Lads and chaps. That's okay. Anyways, lasses and chaps.
Lads and chaps.
Yeah. Boys wearing chaps. Lads and chaps.
Now all I can think of is Mad Max.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Wait, It Gets Better, the improvisational storytelling podcast. If you would like to hear more episodes like this, we have about 2 years worth of content. I don't know how you didn't know that if you're listening to this one, but you can go find those. Otherwise, you can add us. You can at us on Twitter, like talk to us on Twitter at Getsbettercast, or send us an email at waititgetsbettercast@gmail.com. If you would like to hear more stories where we mix it up, if you want to hear Isaac more, if you want to hear Reed more, if you want to hear me less, I would say just wait. It gets better.